Some would say I'm between a rock and a hard place, but I can't look at it that way because I'm between Summer and Andy.
We're
How
pretty
can
soft.
you? No, soft?
We're pretty squishy.
No, squishy? No.
She just said we're squishy.
Oh.
I had to say we to be like,
Politically correct.
yeah, like we're squishy.
Right. We are not squishy on you, Mel.
No. And Summer doesn't have boots that reflect squishiness at all.
No, man.
Got the best boots.
I won't say what they call them. There's a bad word.
But they're made for walking.
Yeah. And kicking things. Pointy, they would hurt.
On to the question at hand. And the questions can get pretty pointy
Yeah.
because they make me think. And sometimes I really feel like I'm adjusting my thoughts from the original question. That as we process this thing through, I'm thinking and rethinking. So I have a feeling it may happen yet again today with the question,
Yeah.
which will have a point to it.
Maybe.
Ooh. Just like her boots.
Just like my boots.
So-
Poor people, they never get to see my boots. For all they know, I'm barefoot.
Mel, can we do a little popcorn Mel in the middle?
Popcorn, okay.
Right. So
Means you're gonna get bounced around like a bouncy ball.
Pinball.
I think I have a couple current event questions.
Oh, okay.
And then I think Summer has a theological question.
Mm.
Now, here's the problem. If we let Summer go first, we're never getting to the current event question.
Okay.
If we do the current event questions, though, the way Mel in the middle works, who knows? So,
Yeah.
Mel,
Okay.
I'll be nice enough today. Do you want current event questions first or a theological question first from Summer?
Actually, I think I'm going to go with the current event.
So, Mel, so I have a question.
Okay.
Here it is. Is there a time when lying seems to be condoned or affirmed or okayed by God? So,
As in.
so let me give you the specific
Okay.
story, right? So I was thinking about Abraham.
Yep.
I was thinking about Sarah. I was thinking about Egypt. Not Abimelech, but Egypt, right? In that story is where we get the first sense of Abraham saying to Sarah, hey, tell them you're my sister, right? Which people always like to argue that's not a lie. She was his half-sister,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But then he allows his wife to be taken to the harem of the Pharaoh, right? So like that's where the problem is, really. So like the lying part, okay, but he lied to Pharaoh. Pharaoh took his wife to be part of his harem, part of his whole thing, right? And then God intervenes. Fortunately for Pharaoh, he doesn't do things that are wrong, right? But God then rewards Abraham for that, right? From the standpoint of, it says here, but the Lord afflicted Pharaoh and his house with great plagues, right? Because of Sarai, Abraham's wife. So Pharaoh called Abraham, said, what is this they have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife, right? And Pharaoh gave men orders concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had, right? So there's the idea that seemingly Abraham tells a lie, gives his wife over, and God comes in, rescues Pharaoh from that, and Abraham seemingly walks away, right, in a better place, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to be any punishment for Abraham on this whole thing. Seems to be punishment on
Pharaoh.
We look at our world today, sometimes our politicians, sometimes our church leaders, sometimes our spouses, sometimes our kids, sometimes our whoever, they seemingly get away with lying and seemingly benefit from that, right? So frequently there are people who are looking at these situations and saying, is there a time when lying is okay? When God seems to say, okay, yeah, I understand.
My mind immediately jumped to the 1940s when Germans were banging on doors looking for Jews, and Jews were being hidden. And I have a feeling at some of those homes there were Christians that were hiding Jews. And my thought is they lied about it. In that case, okay, you got to choose which is the lesser of two evils. Handing Jews over to be killed, or just say, no, we don't have Jews here. Knowing that it was a lie. In that case, I think there is a justification because of the lesser of two evils. No.
See, now you got Summer going. It took a minute.
Yes, you've got me going. Because I think it's a pride thing. I think you're saying it's up to the person answering the door to the Nazi of whether or not that person gets taken. So we don't trust God enough, just like Abraham didn't, to tell the truth. So we think if we lie, we somehow fix it and control it.
But in Abraham's situation, it was just self-preservation.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. We still aren't trusting God. We aren't trusting God enough to tell the truth. And it is self-preservation for that Christian to not lie, because why wouldn't the Nazis just kill them all? Why wouldn't he just kill the person hiding the Jew? They got in trouble for hiding Jews.
So, Mel, while you're thinking about that, who's, in that case, in that scenario, ultimately, whose job is it to save the Jew?
Ultimately, it's God's.
So where's the line where we step in and say, God, we got it from here? If we were in a public place gathering, right? So we're at a wedding, right? The Nazis come in and they start saying, hey, are there any Jews here? Would we have, in a public setting like that, do we have any obligation to say no or say anything or get involved in any way, shape, or form?
My thought is, how do we know all there are not Jews? I mean, any there are not Jews. So I'd say, I don't know.
We wouldn't, people would say, no obligation because we don't know all these things. But the second it comes to your house, if you were having dinner guests over, the Nazis show up at your door and say, hey, are there Jews here? Would we then say, nope, there aren't any here? So then we would all of a sudden, that would become a place where it was personal in nature, and it would be our job to save them.
Boy, this is a sticky one. It is.
Because you're almost saying, like, God's okay with you lying if it's to save someone else, but doesn't God want to be the one to get the glory? Or do you want to be able to say, well, I told a lie, so that's why you got saved?
Well, why don't you make it about self-preservation? If the Nazis knock on your door and say, Mel McGinnis, are you Jewish? And you are, and you were.
I hope I would say, I am.
So in that case, you would say, I am, and they would take you away to wherever they're going to take. But if Summer's sitting there, and she's Jewish, and they came to your door and they said, Mel, do you have anybody who's Jewish in this house? You would say, no. I mean, I know her boots are good, but no.
I know.
You could just say, these aren't the Jews you're looking for.
These aren't the Jews you're looking for. What now?
Our viewers will know what I'm saying.
Star Wars.
Oh.
Right out of Star Wars.
They use the Force. You could use the Force. These aren't the Jews you're looking for. Move along.
You don't want to take these Jews.
You don't want these Jews.
You like Jews.
I just got exposed for my ignorance of Star Wars.
It's all right. I'm sure they're going
Pretty
to forgive
big.
you.
Yeah, they're probably not shocked either.
The Force is
Yeah.
definitely not with you. It's okay.
The Force is not with you.
So
You'd have to lie.
no, again, I think this is important, so I'm not going to let you off the hook.
Yeah,
there,
no.
because I think this whole concept's important because we run into lies all the time.
Well, it's a good lie then.
Right? We run into, in church, we run into lies.
Yeah.
Self-preservation and other people preservation, right? And this is a tricky story because if you just look at it for face value, God seems to condone lying. Abimelech actually sends him off with a whole bunch more stuff, right? So we look at that and say, what's the deal with this?
Right.
And again, we're not always. When Rahab does the same thing, does she not? When they come knocking on our door and say, "Hey, give us the spies,"
Yeah.
and she says they're not here; they left in the night. Right? They walked away. They went on the pathway. And she and her whole household get saved.
Mm-hmm.
But she says a blatant, outright lie. So is it okay to have Christian lying? That's my question for you.
Whoa.
See, if you're smart right now, you ask Summer because she's very definitive on all this stuff.
I know.
Yeah. So,
See, that's what I like about her. The lines are very clear. Very. Oh, because I always I would put myself in that situation. If it were me, what would I do? Out of their desire to be preserved, out of their value to be preserved, I really think that if that knock on the door occurred,
I say, Mel, do you have any Jews here? You would say,
I would say no.
you would say, no, we don't have any Jews.
Yeah.
Great. So next question, right?
Yeah.
The next question that goes with that is, a guy and his wife show up to your church. They go to your church, you love them, you bring them in, right? You have them serving, you have them doing all kinds of things with you. They're integral part of your church. They serve with you for 10 years, right? And one Sunday, they walk in and they say to you, Mel, the police are coming. They're on their way here to arrest, the lady says, to arrest my husband because 11 years ago he killed somebody and we've been on the run. Right? Now, you
Yeah.
don't know anything about it.
Right.
Right? You don't know any reason
Right.
about it. But you only know 10 years of goodness.
Yeah.
These are stellar people, right?
Yeah.
So the police show up to the church and say,
Yeah.
are so-and-so here, right? We want to arrest them. Do you say, yes, they're there?
Yes.
Definitive, yes, right?
I do. Yeah.
You turn them over.
I think that, I mean, if indeed there was a murder that took place,
So they deserve it. But the Jew doesn't.
right, because there was a violation of the law and the Jew didn't violate the law.
Yeah, but how do you know what
Oh,
else?
but did the Jews, didn't Hitler make up some laws that they violated and things that they did according to the laws at that time?
But
They
those
weren't being-
laws violated the higher law
But
of
weren't
God's
they
law.
authority and but again,
But
But that Jew didn't break any of the. They're a Jew. They don't even believe in Jesus. They didn't break any laws, Mel.
well, I'm talking about the order of creation, not salvation.
but Mel, this couple, repentant, restored, Christian couple, 10 years in your church.
I mean, that's wonderful. That's great.
But why wouldn't you lie for them and their new life, their life that they brought together? Maybe they have kids. Maybe they have all these things. Why wouldn't you just say no? They're not there. You're not saying they don't deserve to be arrested or anything. You're just not going to hand them over to the police right then.
No, I felt like in that situation, I would say, yeah, they're here. They're here because of that violation of not only the commandment, you shall not murder, but also the appropriate laws that are on the books for law and order in society prohibiting murder.
But what if you don't know anything about what the man did? You just know that they're coming to arrest him for murder, but you didn't know that he did it.
Yeah, maybe it was manslaughter.
Maybe it was accidental. But in
Maybe it was
God's,
self-defense because someone came after his wife.
in God's world,
Do you have time to work through that?
No.
So you
But
see why my
you would-
lines
you
are
would-
hard,
you-
right? You get that now. Because you don't have time to work through things sometimes. And
what if the Jewish person is also guilty of some kind of a crime? and
what
you
if the
wouldn't know it?
Jew killed a Nazi like Moses did?
But I think the Nazis would just show up at the door to take the Jew simply for the mere fact that they are a Jew.
But what if they're going to take this guy because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time? And
That's where I think I would have to trust our law and authority here in
What?
our nation.
Oh,
Yeah.
well.
I'm sorry. Because
Don't watch Sophie's whole monologue because you just contradicted everything you say in those videos. You want to trust the law and the system in our country?
I mean, the order of police,
Oh my God.
the order of law enforcement, that's a legitimate entity.
Isn't that what the Nazis were? A legitimate entity? The SS?
No, I mean that.
Yes, they were.
No, well, in that Nazi society, yeah, that's
But
what
that
they.
was their legitimate government. Yes,
But
it was, Mel.
But everybody knew that there was.
Everybody knows ours is horrible. Come on.
I mean, I don't think ours is comparable to the Nazis.
So, Mel, can I take you backwards
Okay.
and just pull the knot? We talked a couple of weeks ago about authority.
Yeah.
Was Hitler in authority because of God or not because of God? He just slipped through the cracks of God's authority.
Yeah, I mean,
Was he under God's authority?
Right.
Was he there because of God?
yeah, I mean, it wasn't outside of.
So
the will of
somehow,
God.
and God allowed him to be in authority, allowed him to set all this stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to usurp that and say, yeah, but God, you must have missed this part. The law says to do, because again, if you're going to do that, I'm perfectly fine with that. But we are in the United States, we got a whole bunch of problems now because what you're just telling people is, if they think that a law, right, goes against the moral or goes against what's happening, then you don't have to support that.
Yeah.
So 95% of the people in our church are in deep trouble because there's laws that they're not going to support morally, right?
I think everybody in the church would say, yeah, we ought to have laws on the book that prohibit murder.
Sure, no doubt about that. But if the Nazis had a law on the books,
Look,
laws on the books,
Right.
yeah,
to-
like don't
and
be
to-
a Jew.
and they are
Yeah.
the authority,
Right.
they're the authority, that because we don't like the law in the book, I'm saying that
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine to not like
Yeah.
the law in the book. I agree with you. I don't really like to round up Jews and because, and kill them all, right?
Yeah.
But first of all, again, you goes right back to what Summer said. When the knock comes on the door, the law says hand them over, right? You don't hand them over. Are you usurping God's authority on that moment in time?
That is a very good question, and that has got that
And
even
there's-
tightens it. That doesn't loosen it. It
Was
tightens
that
it.
Romans 13?
We're gonna go with the whole tighten the rope now. So we can't have it all ways, right? Because again, that's the same. There are churches. I bet there are pastors who would say, "I'm not turning over the couple to the police. If they
Yeah.
find them on their own, if they do this kind of thing, that's fine. But we're not, as a church, we're not turning them over,
Right.
right? We don't believe this or whatever it is for whatever the reason. But the law in the book says, if you've been accused of killing somebody, they have a right to come and get you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the law says then you're also guilty of
Aiding and not aiding and abetting, but
what is it?
like could be
You're like
covering
harboring
up.
a
Yeah,
Harboring
harboring a
yeah.
criminal
Yeah.
or something. Like there's so many. You just broke a law too.
For harboring. So now you're harboring, but it's okay to harbor in this case because I've deemed it okay.
Yeah, meaning there's no law in Scripture that would say certain people groups are justifiable for rounding up.
Now, Mel, what does the Old Testament stories tell about
Well,
rounding up groups?
Right. Well, you have the Old Testament historical record,
Sure.
but the imperative is not there for us to participate
So
in
let's
such
go to
practice.
the New Testament. You and Summer and I were sitting at a Bible study. They come to our door and say, "Are you guys Christians?" Like they did all kinds of times in the first century, and took people to the Colosseum, to the amphitheater, to all these other places. And they sat these people down in front of a crowd of people and said, "All you have to do to get out of this is say you're not a Christian."
No!
All you. So wait,
We've
Matt,
got to say we are believers in Jesus Christ, even if it means our lives are thrown
So
to
why
the
would
lion.
you steal that from someone else by lying?
So why would you? Yeah.
Why would you steal that opportunity for them to be martyred for their faith by lying? Scrunchy face. Don't try to hide it, Mel. Look that way. Look that way.
Oh!
That was a good one.
Oh, I'm not in the middle. I'm in a pickle. That's what I feel. I'm in a
Pickle
pickle.
in the middle. We're gonna change the background.
Larry the cucumber has nothing on you.
Larry.
Oh, because you know what makes me think? Like with Jews. I would say, well, I mean, yes, could they be Messianic Jews? Yeah, that would be a possibility. But when I think of Jews, I think of them not coming to the knowledge of their Savior, their Messiah yet.
But are they still God's chosen people?
Uh-huh.
Chosen people.
So
chose-
Paul says what about to the Jew first,
Then the
then
Gentile.
to the Gentile. Right?
Yeah.
So Paul, who we all love, said the Jews aren't replaced. They're not out of the way. They're not. Forget them. He says to the Jew and the Gentile, put those together. We're joint heirs, right? So are we robbing? Were people robbing the Jewish people of a chance to stand firm to the fact that they were Jew? They were being persecuted for being a Jew.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Christians were being persecuted for being a Christian.
Yeah.
So would it have been okay for somebody to avoid the Colosseum, to avoid a lion, bear, tiger, oh my, right? Would it have been okay for them to do that? Because again, make it today. You're in Iran
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're a woman, right?
Yeah.
Or a guy, but you're a woman specifically, and you're in your hut. They come to get you. They drag you out by your hair, out on the road, out to the edge of town. And your husband looks at you and says, please say you're not a Christian.
Ah, can't do it.
With a sword in their hands.
Can't do
If
it.
she says, I'm not a Christian, if she lies, it's just like Abraham, that's not my wife. Right? If she lies, then she gets to keep her head and her family. And why can't she just be an undercover Christian?
We're not called to that.
Mel, I would even say that if I was hiding in your house and I knew you were going to do it, that I would be, if I was a Christian hiding and I knew you were going to lie to save me and I let you do it, to me, that would be me denying Christ to man. And then I'd be like, ooh.
It's so, but
Ooh.
it's
'Cause what's
right.
the part after
See-
that? If I
Yeah,
deny
yeah.
him,
He'll deny us
deny
before
me.
men.
So if I let you do that, am I not denying Christ?
Right. And that's why I think we as Christians, though, understand that if we are in this situation, we can't deny. I mean, we can't cover up. We can't deceive. We just got to be open and say, yeah, I'm a believer. So is my wife.
So unless you're a Christian, it's okay. if you're Jewish, Islamic, if you're Jehovah's Witness, a Mormon, and they come into your house and they say, hey, we're killing all Mormons, then it's okay for us to say, you just deny that you're a Mormon. Deny that there's any
Deny your God. I'm not denying mine, but you should deny yours.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the Jewish God is the same as ours.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, boy.
So
But
can I go one more step further?
One more step.
Obviously, we're not going to get to.
No.
We're going to do Summer's theological question
next week.
Because I didn't know that you guys would actually bite on this and go. Because, Summer, it takes her like 2 minutes to figure out where I'm going with this, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, all right." So, if the Nazis showed up at the door, asked, "Are there any Jews in your house?" And you just chose to be silent and not say anything.
You plead the fifth.
Are you guilty of lying? I ask you an outright question: are there any Jews?
And I just stay silent.
Good time to speak in
Somehow
tongues, huh?
you just
Yeah.
somehow
Lord, give me tongues.
somehow you remain silent, right? And they buy it, they walk away.
Yeah.
Are you guilty of lying when somebody's asked you outright?
Ow.
Are there Jews here? So Pharaoh looks at Abraham. Is this your wife?
And you are
And
silent.
he says nothing and lets her watches
Yeah.
her take her away, right? If he did that, right? Is he? Are you guilty? I have a follow-up question for all of our lovely listeners.
Now you're meddling, Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're about ready to really
Yeah.
go.
Because we've all done that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I
Sin by
know.
omission.
Yep. I know.
So are there sins of omission?
Yeah.
When you know the right to do and you don't
Ah,
do it,
yep.
are you sinning?
That comes right out of James, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
The good you
So that's
know
a New
what to do and
Testament,
don't
so
do
that,
it.
that has nothing to do with the Old Testament.
Yeah.
And then my follow-up question would be, just like Summer was on the right trail, right? How often do we do that as Christians, right?
I
Sit
know.
quietly and we don't say anything.
I know.
What do you think about this, Andy? So, about the weather today.
The ninth commandment gets us. It just does. The law is doing its job by exposing sin within. Whether that sin is verbally expressed or that sin is kept within the heart so that people really don't know, but God knows.
So Paul, it says Paul, Saul at the time, right? At
Well-
Stephen's murder, held the cloaks.
Mm-hmm.
Does it not? Didn't necessarily, doesn't say he participated, but he held the
Yep,
cloaks.
yep.
Is he just as guilty for Stephen's murder?
Yeah. In this country, he is.
This country he would be. He didn't do anything to try to
Stop it.
And he aided it.
Right?
Proved of it. He didn't pull the trigger, didn't throw the stone, but he was there. Although to me, it just seems like there is a difference. Yeah, you can approve it, you can abet it, but it's not the same
Yeah, but
as.
if you help me bury the body, like, come on.
He stood and watched a guy die. And he had the papers to make the guy die.
Yeah, I know, that lumps you in with that whole.
I guess the overall question goes back to the beginning, Mel. Mel, is there Christian lying? Is there Christian lying, Mel? Is it okay as a Christian to lie, withhold the truth at certain moments for self-preservation or the preservation of whoever you deem worthy of being saved? Or might it just be that God's the protector and the truth is just always the truth?
Wow.
You know, you're not going to be able to say That's a great question for next week.
No.
All right, good.
Right.
Don't go
right.
to Mel's church if the popo is after you. He's gonna send you out.
Christian lying. Those are contradictory terms.
Well, you think, right?
They're contradictions. I mean, just to lie for lying's sake, that is categorically wrong. Universally wrong. Absolutely wrong.
But if you're a Christian and they ask you if you have Jews and you do, and you say no, that's okay uncategorically?
I mean, right now, yes, I would say that. I'm sorry. You've got a situation here where
So Mel is the protector. God said, hey, Mel, I'm taking the day off. And Mel, you're going to be the protector. Sounds a little bit like
Yeah.
Bruce Almighty.
Because that
Heaven
Nazi,
Almighty.
that
That's
Nazi
true.
can't just club you and go search the house anyway, right? Because he doesn't believe you.
yeah, that's
So if you
true
lie, they're
too.
just gonna say, "Oh,
Oh,
thank
by
you,
the way,
sir."
when you get caught for lying and they drag you to the concentration camp, you're going to say, I deserved it for lying. Or you're going to plead to God and say, no, I lied for the protection of these people. Like, God, you got to save me because I lied to protect people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would try to say, but God, I tried this, I tried that. I just would say, I receive the consequences of my actions, trusting that God is doing what He
Wouldn't it
knows
be easier
what.
just to say, I trust you, God, to be their protector?
Yep. Yeah, Andy, you're walking me right up to it. So close. Maybe by next Thursday, I'll be over that line. I'll be over that line and say, Andy, I see your point. I agree. I should just say, yes, Jews are here. And then when they ask, where are they? Am I obligated to tell them?
Oh, Mel with the follow-up question. Look at that.
Oh, look at that.
That was awesome.
We're growing.
You got it. You know how it works now. Now we might be in trouble. If you start thinking that way, now you have the next one.
Oh, boy, these questions are so good. I so appreciate it because it makes us all think when you're Mel in the middle.